What was supposed to be Captain Smith's first flight in a new plane turned into his worst nightmare. The plane hadn't even lifted off the ground and chaos had already erupted. And so, Captain Smith's final flight became an unforgettable tale of resilience, quick thinking, and an improbable landing that would be recounted with awe and humor for generations to come. Around noon, he got the clear to enter the plane and get it ready for the passengers. His flight attendants made sure everything was clean and ready. They were a well-oiled team, determined to provide the passengers with a seamless and comfortable journey. And after they checked everything for a second time, the passengers were allowed to enter. They streamed into the aircraft, their faces filled with a mix of excitement and anticipation for the adventure that awaited them. Everything seemed to go smoothly. The flight attendants demonstrated the safety procedures, the passengers settled into their seats, and the engines rumbled to life. The plane began to taxi toward the runway, ready for the exhilarating takeoff. Captain Smith's eyes gleamed with a mix of confidence and anticipation as he maneuvered the aircraft, but that was all about to change. As they were taxiing towards the runway, the control tower suddenly received an emergency call. The voice on the other end was frantic and urgent, warning of a dangerous situation on board the plane. Captain Smith's eyebrows furrowed, and a wave of concern washed over him. Was this some kind of elaborate prank or a mix-up in communication? Nevertheless, Captain Smith knew better than to dismiss such a call without investigation. With a steady voice, he relayed the situation to his co-pilot and instructed the flight attendants to be on high alert, ready to respond to any potential emergency. As the plane came to a temporary stop on the taxiway, Captain Smith sought reassurance from the control tower. He asked for more details, hoping to gather enough information to understand the gravity of the situation. The voice on the other end confirmed the urgency, and Captain Smith felt a surge of adrenaline coursing through his veins. But Captain Smith couldn't ignore the urgency in the voice and the gravity of the situation. He was responsible for the safety of his passengers, so he couldn't take this allegation lightly. The aircraft came to a halt on a nearby taxiway as Captain Smith initiated a thorough investigation. He called upon the flight attendants, co-pilot, and any available crew members to join him in meticulously searching every nook and cranny of the plane. They combed through the cargo hold, inspected the lavatories, and scrutinized the overhead compartments, determined to uncover the truth behind the distressing call. Aborting a takeoff requires a significant amount of space on the runway, something Captain Smith no longer had. He suddenly realized he would have to take off very quickly to avoid running out of runway and crashing the plane, which only added to the stress of the situation. In a calm, assertive voice, Captain Smith relayed new instructions to his co-pilot and the control tower. He informed the cabin crew and passengers that they would be proceeding with an expedited takeoff, urging them to fasten their seatbelts securely and prepare for a rapid ascent. The runway rapidly approached, and with nerves of steel, Captain Smith skillfully maneuvered the aircraft, aligning it for takeoff. As the plane lifted off the ground, Captain Smith let out a breath he didn't realize he had been holding. The strange phone call had a grip on Captain Smith's mind. The relief in the cockpit was palpable, but Captain Smith knew that the challenges were far from over. As they took off, Captain Smith couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. His mind was racing as he tried to make sense of the situation. Gripping the controls with determination, Captain Smith scanned the instrument panel, searching for any indications of trouble. Every flicker of a gauge, every blip on a monitor heightened his senses, intensifying the atmosphere within the cockpit. Suddenly, there was a loud bang from the rear of the plane. The aircraft began to shudder and shake, and Captain Smith immediately knew something was seriously wrong. In that moment, Captain Smith's mind raced, connecting the dots between the strange phone call and the unfolding chaos. Pushing aside his own fears, Captain Smith took charge of the situation with a calm yet decisive demeanor. He quickly relayed instructions to the control tower, requesting emergency assistance and relaying the urgency of the situation. In the midst of the chaos, Captain Smith's training and experience kicked in, guiding his actions and thoughts. He coordinated with the flight attendants, instructing them to reassure and assist the passengers while preparing them for the possibility of an emergency landing. Captain Smith calmly talked through the intercom, his voice projecting assurance and calmness. He asked everyone to settle down, assuring them that they had everything under control, even though deep down the situation was far from being fully understood. Suddenly, the screams intensified, and Captain Smith's heart sank as he witnessed a big cloud of black smoke billowing from the plane's left side. The situation had taken a turn for the worse, and the urgency in his voice grew as he swiftly radioed the control tower. He informed them of the dire situation, emphasizing the need for an emergency landing. However, Captain Smith quickly realized that their predicament was far from straightforward. They were already significantly far from the airport, with the distance posing a significant challenge to their immediate landing. With the control tower's guidance, Captain Smith and his co-pilot made the difficult decision to divert to the nearest suitable airport. The pilots worked together to stabilize the plane as they descended rapidly, their focus fixated on safely navigating through the challenging situation. A knock on the cockpit door diverted their attention. Captain Smith's heart skipped a beat as he tried to comprehend who it could be in such a critical moment. With cautious curiosity, Captain Smith approached the cockpit door. The door of the cockpit opened, and the stewardess looked at Captain Smith with a mixture of concern and trepidation. Her voice trembled as she spoke. It's for you, Captain," she said, extending a trembling hand to offer the phone. Captain Smith's heart skipped a beat as he accepted the phone. "You had one job, Captain Smith," the voice on the other end admonished. "I warned your control tower, but you didn't listen." A surge of realization washed over Captain Smith as he connected the dots. The voice was a haunting reminder of the strange phone call, the call that had set off a chain of events that now unfolded before him. Who was on the other end of the line? What were their motives? How had they known about the impending danger? Drawing upon his professionalism and courage, he steadied his voice and responded, "Who are you? What do you want?" Then, the voice on the other end spoke, its tone laced with a chilling calmness. "Captain Smith, you're about to find out that there are consequences for ignoring warnings. Prepare for a reckoning." "I don't have time for this. What do you want?" Captain Smith's voice rang out in frustration, his patience wearing thin. The person on the other end of the line remained cryptic, their motives elusive. "If only it were that easy, Captain Smith. I guess you have other worries now," the voice retorted, its tone tinged with a sinister undertone. With a sudden click, the line went dead. Captain Smith's frustration boiled over, and he forcefully threw the phone behind him, a physical release of his pent-up emotions. The phone clattered against the cockpit wall, a symbol of the growing frustration and the weight of the unknown that burdened his mind. Gathering his thoughts, Captain Smith addressed his co-pilot and the crew, reiterating the need for heightened vigilance and cooperation. As the plane continued its course, Captain Smith pushed aside the lingering frustration and focused on the immediate tasks at hand. Captain Smith and his co-pilot desperately fought against time, frantically trying to turn the aircraft around and head back to the airport. As they communicated with the airport control tower, a mix of anxiety and determination filled their voices. The control tower reassured them of their readiness to assist with the landing, but the truth loomed heavily in the air. This was an incredibly dangerous situation. Drawing upon his experience and instinct, Captain Smith made a difficult but necessary decision. He relayed to the control tower that they would proceed with the emergency landing, fully aware of the risks involved. As the plane approached the runway, Captain Smith and his co-pilot caught sight of the assembled emergency vehicles and personnel, their presence a testament to the seriousness of the situation. Through their expertise and skill, Captain Smith and his co-pilot maneuvered the plane with precision and finesse, guiding it to a gradual stop. The emergency vehicles and personnel sprung into action, swiftly surrounding the aircraft to provide immediate assistance and ensure the safety of all on board. Captain Smith knew all too well that their nightmare was far from over. The underlying cause of the emergency, the mysterious phone call, and the subsequent events still demanded answers. As the cabin doors opened and the passengers began to disembark, Captain Smith gathered the crew, their faces reflecting a mixture of exhaustion and determination. They knew that their responsibility extended beyond the successful landing, encompassing the safety, comfort, and well-being of everyone who had placed their trust in them. The discovery of damage to the rear section of the aircraft during the takeoff added another layer of concern to an already tumultuous experience. However, within the gathered group, a sense of unease and restlessness began to grow. The realization that no one was allowed to go home yet, compounded by the lingering uncertainty and the desire for personal freedom, sparked dissent among some individuals. Whispers of disagreement spread through the room as frustrations mounted. Captain Smith explained that the authorities had enacted these measures to thoroughly investigate the incident, ensuring that all necessary precautions were taken before allowing anyone to leave. Amidst the chaos, the police officers present maintained their composure, swiftly responding to the escalating situation. The police officers began conducting thorough interviews, carefully observing the interactions among the passengers and gathering any vital information that could aid in identifying the potential threat. Each person's actions, demeanor, and background were meticulously scrutinized as part of the comprehensive investigation. The atmosphere in the room gradually shifted, as the passengers, despite their frustrations, recognized the seriousness of the situation. As the investigation progressed and tensions eased within the room, a separate thread of the inquiry began to unravel. A realization that there was a second threat, the enigmatic caller who had set the events in motion. As the investigation into the incident unfolded, a clearer picture began to emerge. The enigmatic caller, it turned out, had not been the mastermind behind the threat, but rather an individual who had witnessed something suspicious on board the plane. Their frantic call to the control tower had been an urgent attempt to warn of the potential danger. The authorities uncovered crucial evidence that revealed a passenger had indeed been carrying a suspicious package in their luggage. Captain Smith's intuition and swift response had been instrumental in averting what could have been a disastrous situation. His ability to recognize the urgency in the caller's voice and take decisive action had played a vital role in ensuring the safety of everyone on board. The realization that the phone call had been an act of vigilance rather than an orchestrated plot brought a mix of relief and gratitude. Captain Smith's commitment to the safety and well-being of his passengers had been unwavering, and his quick thinking had proved pivotal in diffusing the potential threat. With this newfound understanding, Captain Smith's perspective shifted. What had initially appeared as a nightmare scenario now took on a different hue. It became a testament to the power of swift action, effective communication, and the importance of remaining vigilant in the face of potential dangers. The incident underscored the significance of maintaining a strong line of communication between the crew, air traffic control, and vigilant passengers. It served as a reminder that everyone has a role to play in ensuring the safety of air travel, and that even the smallest act of awareness and intervention can make a significant difference.